So we're going to start with a little bit of stand up, and then we'll go to the mats. Take your feet nice and wide, comfortable distance apart, and take an inhale. Reach up and over and exhale as you lean to one side, feeling that stretch and lengthening on one side. Inhale, windmill the arms, and exhale. And inhale through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Take your time, you can go at any pace you'd like, nice and slowly. It's about lengthening and then bending versus collapsing to one side. So really feel that reaching up and over. One more on each side. Inhale through the nose, draw the abdominals in, exhale out through the mouth. Yeah, if your feet aren't already about shoulder distance apart, go ahead and set them about shoulder distance apart, knees and toes slightly turned out, sit your butt back and down into a squats. Same thing, you want to think about lengthening the spine. Keep facing forward, I'm going to turn to the side. So you want to feel like the top of your head is an extension of that spine. So even as your butt is lowering back and down, and there's a slight tilt of your spine, it's still a very straight and lengthened spine. The neck is actually part of the spine, the cervical portion of your spine, and then the head rests on top of that. So you want to keep that head and neck in that same line of the rest of your spine. The arms reaching forward just help with balance. As your butt goes back and down, it helps to have the counterbalance of your arms going forward. I'm just going to face forward again. You want to watch your knees and make sure they don't buckle in. You don't want to be bow-legged either. So the knees should track in line with the toes the entire time, bend and straightens. Since we're targeting the lower body muscle groups, this is a really great way to warm up. So we're going to go ahead and bring the feet in a little closer, feet to parallel, just right around the hips. We're going to focus on hip movement and also focus on not externally rotating. So keeping that neutral foot position. So as I weight shift, I have to weight shift and not collapse into my hip, but stay strong and lifted through the standing leg. I'm going to shift my body ever so slightly and lift the leg to the side, targeting the outer thighs without rotating the foot. So let me show you what rotation looks like. And when you rotate the foot, you can usually lift a little higher, but then you're targeting your hip flexors and your quads, which are already very dominant. You don't need to work on them that much more. I'm just holding my arms out for balance. And do whatever you like with your arms that'll help you with balance. So again, sometimes we take for granted that as we shift our body weight to stay balanced, that we are coordinated enough to do that. And it is coordination, but not something we should just take for granted. But sometimes, if we don't think about shifting the weight properly and we don't have the stabilizers, a lot of things are going on in the hips. All right, last time here, and let's try the other side. It's interesting to note, though, that when we dance, we actually want this action a lot. And sometimes it's like, relax the muscle. Let it not do its job so you can drop the hip over and over and over again. So it's interesting what we focus on in different exercise formats. Here we do not want that hip to drop. We want to stay really strong and stable throughout the hip and all the glute medius muscles here. Now my standing leg, I'm trying not to lock out my knee. So from a locked knee position, if you can see see me jerk into a locked knee position, I basically get rid of that locked knee and just soften the knee. I'm not really bending it either. I'm just not locking it. And that's all we have to do to keep those muscles engaged. Maybe you can't tell, but my abdominals are drawn in as well to help me with stabilization. Just keep alternating the breath here. Not a huge breath focus here. You can exhale to lift the leg if you like. Last one. Good. I'm going to be doing some more leg lift exercises once we're down on that. So go ahead and roll your spine down. Actively reach your arms down towards the floor so you can really get that stretch in the upper back. Bend your knees when needed and walk those hands out. Feel free to come to your elbows at this point for the plank. Eye gaze on the floor between your thumbs or looking at your thumbs if you're on your elbows. Draw the abdominals in, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the quadriceps. Let's take 3 breaths. Inhale. Soften those elbows if they're locked out. Exhale. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Last time. Inhale into the nose and out through the mouth. Good. Go ahead and pull your knees forward and swing your legs around for rolling down the mats. Coming into an imprinted position. Go ahead and lift your legs up to tabletop. So here we're targeting the hip flexors. So there's always plenty of times that we're working on the hip flexors. Anytime we do leg lifts or leg related movements while lying on our back, it's going to focus on the hip flexors. Good. Exhale to lower, inhale to lift, keeping the knees at 90 degrees, keeping the imprint, lower back, stuck to the floor so there's no way the hands can pass underneath. Exhale, lower, inhale, lift. Okay, I'm going to try to add some ab prep to this exercise. If you want to think about your chest being attached to your leg on a string, I'm going to start with the forward leg. But basically, as the leg taps down, you crunch up. So again, it's like the knee is attached to the chest. So then when the chest lowers back down, it pulls the knee back up. And now we're going to reattach the string to the other leg. Exhale, lift. Inhale, return. Exhale, lift and lower. So you lift the head, neck, and shoulders. At the same time, you tap the toe down. So we're still doing that same 90-degree tap down. This might actually make it a little easier to maintain imprint when you lift the head, neck, and shoulders. You want to tuck the chin and look at the knees. You can look at either knee technically. Good. One more of each. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Now, you take a break if you need to, especially your quads. We're going to add another layer here of coordination. You're going to take the hand behind the head. And this time you want to imagine this front elbow attached to this knee. So front elbow attached to front knee, which means as we lower the front leg, I'm going to immediately rotate towards the back knee. The elbow attached to same side knee. Good, return. So you want both shoulder blades coming off the ground, but one shoulder blade comes up higher off the ground. That's how you get the rotation. Same leg lowering as before. Upper body has changed. Take your time with this. Exhale, lift and rotate. Inhale, return, lower. Exhale, lift and rotate. So we started with the front leg. Two more on each side. One more on each side. Good, and now you can relax those quadriceps, place the feet flat on the floor, hip distance apart. Let's do our shoulder bridge or hip bridge. So think about articulation, starting with the tailbone on the ground. Exhale, imprint, lift the tailbone, roll up your spine, 1 inch at a time. Find that mobility. Reach the knees away from the shoulders and inhale. Exhale, inch by inch we lower, vertebra by vertebra. until we are back on the mat in neutral position. So here, my hand can go partially under my lower back because there's that small gap there. And then I'm going to imprint again, press through the heels and roll up. Inhale and exhale, roll down. Inhale at the bottom, exhale, roll up. Really squeeze the glutes, activate those quads, reach those knees. Inhale, exhale, lower back down. Keep the glutes engaged until the tailbone hits the floor. And last time. Okay, we sort of already did our ab prep, which is what I usually do right after this, if you've seen my sequence of warm-ups before. So we're going to go just right into hundreds. So hundreds, you can keep your feet on the ground, legs tabletop, legs straight, and legs on the diagonal. You can change your leg positions at any time during these 100 counts. Here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 10. Inhale. Exhale. 20. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 50. We're at 50. Exhale. 60. Inhale. Exhale. 70. Exhale. 80. Inhale. Exhale. 90. Inhale. Exhale. 100. I always have doubt whether I counted to 100 correctly every time I teach class. But you know, I figured give or take 5 or 10. Isn't gonna hurt anybody. All right, so we gotta work on our spine muscles. So that is involving an extension of the spine, or another way of putting it is we are arching our back. But we don't want to create pain in the lower back, we want to create strength. So use the forearms as needed to assist. Remember, the head and neck is an extension of that spine, so we're always going to keep the chin a little tucked, keep the eye gaze on the floor, and not hyperextend the neck by looking up. We're going to avoid looking up. Get ready to activate those legs. So if your legs were relaxed, go ahead and squeeze the quadriceps, squeeze the butts. Get ready to take those hands away. I'm going to reach my fingertips toward the toes. I'm going to reach the toes toward the walls. And I'm going to get into a very low hover. When your legs lift up nice and straight, you might feel like you can lift your chest up a little bit more. Now that you're lifting everything, sometimes synergistically, everything can lift higher. Pay attention to your body. Again, you want to feel the muscles in around your spine strengthening and working, but not in a stressful way. Do one more. Inhale to lift and exhale to lower. Okay. So that's one of the best ways of improving your postural muscles, because your muscles in the spine are what helps you do the opposite of this movement. So here we're actually stretching, but it takes the muscles in the back here in order to contract to straighten ourselves up. So from here, half roll back. Again, use those spine muscles to find the length in your spine, and then use your abs as you roll halfway back. There's your spine flexion again. Shoulders stay relaxed. We're actually going to do several different exercises in this position. I would say this is the basic half roll back, and even though it's the base movement, it's by no means easy. It's still very challenging if you do it correctly. So you basically, from a vertical spine, you want to tuck your tailbone under and then start to roll back as if you're going to roll down. But just when your lower back gets really close to the floor, you stop. You should feel your abdominals at work here. No stress in the neck or shoulders. So we're going to start by straightening the leg. If you need to move your feet a little closer together, you can, because eventually we're going to straighten both legs and the legs are going to be together. So if you want to start moving them towards each other, you can. So you extend the leg out, Same C curve. Everything's the same except we extend the leg out. Exhale. I won't do too many of these before you get too tired. But when I straighten both legs, if you'd like to continue alternating, straightening one leg, go right ahead and do that. Okay, so now I'm going to straighten both legs. So I'm actually going to squeeze my legs together as I roll halfway back. I extend. You can also flex your foot, okay, if you're feeling any sort of foot cramping. Basically, as you roll back, just push out with the heel. You're still straightening your leg. You're still activating the quads. Okay, it actually feels a little different when you flex your foot versus pointing. But you have the option always of pointing or flexing. Pointing. I said the opposite, flexing or pointing. Okay, building up from here, we're going to keep the feet off the floor. So I go halfway back and then lift the legs. Here's the starting point. As I exhale, I might lean back a little bit more because it helps to counterbalance the legs that are extending further out. Exhale. Inhale. I'm going to show it to you with my feet flexed. Exhale. Lean back. Inhale. So in other words, exhale to open up. Inhale to close up. And if you want even more challenge from here, how can I even make this harder? Well, since you asked, arm position. We can open up the arms. That makes it harder. We can place your hands right at your chest. So it's no longer reaching forward. That makes it harder. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're going to go. You can also arms over it. So a couple arm variations. And of course, keep that arm straight ahead, parallel to the floor. Because this is already a very challenging exercise. Let's do two more. Any arm variation you like. Exhale. Inhale. Last one. Exhale. Inhale. All right. Go ahead and roll all the way down. A quick stretch you can do when your abdominals are tired is to intentionally arch the back. So if this is neutral, just really relax your abs. Allow it to arch as your hands reach overhead. Okay, and then when I want to start the exercise, I gotta bring it back in. The rib cage has popped out. I gotta bring that rib cage down. So now I'm back to neutral. I'm not imprinted. It's actually really hard to imprint when your legs are straight, which is why a lot of times we bend our knees. This allows our pelvis to shift back into a position that allows us to imprint. Our butt just gets in the way of imprinting when our legs are straight. We are going to do a full roll up. So if you want, you can start with your legs fully straight, or here's a version that allows us to imprint. And then if you get stuck here, shoot those legs out. Inhale, start to roll back. Exhale, roll down. Take your time here. If you get stuck on the way up, the best way to sort of get past that hump is to practice rolling down and developing the muscles in that same movement pattern. So even though this movement pattern is up against gravity, you pretty much develop the same muscles as you lower resisting gravity. Okay, so again, if you have trouble on the way up, practice working on those muscles on the way down. Now I'm doing it with my legs fully straight. My legs are active, even though they're lying on the mats. My quads are engaged. My heels are as anchored to the mat as I can make them. And if you're bending your knees and straightening them each time, that's fine too. All right, so we're getting a nice stretch here too. So it's not just the strength of your abs here, it's also a nice hamstring stretch. All right, adjusting my pants. So we're gonna go into single leg stretch for the ab series. You can always keep your head, neck, and shoulder blades down. Extend the leg on any diagonal you like. The lower the diagonal, the more challenging the imprint. Lifting the head, neck, and shoulders. Work your abs a little bit more. Inhale to switch, exhale, reach. We're gonna do things a little out of order today. So I'm gonna go from single leg stretch to bicycle, which is what I do often. We added a bicycle to the warm-up today, so this is the second time you're doing bicycle, or the similar torso rotation. Exhale, reach, inhale to midline, exhale. Okay, and then I'm gonna skip double leg stretch for a moment and go straight into scissors. Go ahead and straighten the legs, stop the rotation, and reach high, as high as you can toward your ankle. We often do scissors at the end. It's a very tough one. Leave it for the end when our abs are already very, very fatigued. I'm just going to do it third in the series instead of last. Last pair. Good. And then from here, if your neck's tired, place the head, neck, and shoulders down and double leg stretch. Again, on any diagonal you like. You'll notice that the lower the legs go, the more challenging it is to maintain imprint. Head, neck, and shoulders can come up. Inhale, come in. Exhale, reach out. Last 3. And 2. And 1. Good. Go ahead and flip over because our abs are tired. Right? They should be tired after the ab series. And we'll go on to working on the spine muscles again. So this is the opposing muscle groups. It is important that when you make pancakes that you cook them both sides so they brown evenly on both sides. So same thing with the human body. Both sides are important. We've got to flip ourselves over like a pancake. Body in a narrow X. We're going to start with a swimming variation, or what we call swimming prep. So you lift up only 2 limbs, the 2 opposite limbs, nice and straight on the diagonal. Now, think about what's connected to your arm. So your arm connects to your torso through the shoulder joints. So if I'm lifting my arm up, that lifts my shoulder up. If I kept my nose stuck to the ground, I'm actually out of alignment. So what you want to do is let the torso and spine, use your spine muscles to gently lift the torso as your arm lifts. And then because your head and neck is attached to your torso, and it's an extension of your spine, just allow the head and neck to travel with your torso. So I'm not looking up, right? Because that doesn't need to happen. What I'm doing is just allowing the head and neck to be an extension of my spine. Now, full swimming is a little more endurance of the spine. We're going to start with 2 limbs lifted, but we're never going to go all the way down. So wherever your chest is right now, that lifted position, you're going to just switch the limbs. So don't go so fast that you're kind of like, oh, I don't know what's paired with what. Go at a faster pace, a more brisk pace, but it's still controlled. Like you can always tell that your right and left leg are coordinating together, and your left and right leg are coordinating together. And you can also tell that your legs and arms are straight. So you don't want to move so fast and suddenly it's like everything's bending and you don't know what's going on anymore. All right, so technique is always more important than speed. Quality over quantity. All right, let's finish up with 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And because your chest was semi-lifted the entire time, there's a lot of endurance of the spine muscles. So you don't want to do too many there because it's really tiring on the spine. Now we're doing our stretch again. All right, so we're going to do sort of like a single leg stretch again, but this time propped up. Now, if this, the thing about propping ourselves up like this is that sometimes people pull themselves into an arch state. So you want to think about drawing the abs down and in, almost like an imprint, even though your spine is off the ground. And then you don't want to sink your chest in. You kind of want to imprint the lower back, but lift the chest and stay strong through the shoulder. This actually ends up feeling like a pretty strong shoulder stretch. And I know some people don't find this comfortable. And the main reason we don't find it comfortable is just because we aren't used to having our arms reach back like this, right? It's normally here. So this is a good stretch, but if it becomes unbearable, then I want you to just go down and continue the exercise. So again, it's single leg stretch. So we've already done this before, right? We already did it down here, like this. So now I'm just having you prop yourself up. It kind of changes how your abs work because your imprint, and I put that in quotes, is not exactly on the floor, but you are still drawing your abs in and creating a little bit of a C curve, if you will. Sometimes we call this J curve. So the lower part of your spine is round, and then the upper part, your chest is straight. It's like a J, straight to a curve. It is time to learn the alphabet. Actually, all we learned is C and J for the spine anyways. So here is our single leg stretch. And then we're going to go into a double leg lowering, which looks like what we did in the warm-up. Keep the knees bent. And I'm going to do a straight leg version, but I want to show you the bent leg version first. So exhale to lower, inhale to lift. And again, I know there's a lot to think about, but we really don't want to think about collapsing here. We want to stay lifted in the chest, but strong in the abs. Hopefully you're not feeling any strain in the lower back. If you do feel a lot of strain in the lower back, sometimes it's because you've started arching it. So you really got to just bring it back down. And if you're still feeling the strain, then go ahead and lie down on your back with the head on the floor. Okay, last one here. And then from here, I'm going to actually have you push all the way up. And feel free to do the first few of these with your knees bent. So you have to lean back, all right? So bend your arms as needed. We're eventually going to take away the hands. But the ankles are crisscrossed, and you're going to lean back, pull the knees in, open up the legs into a V. So it looks like that. You're going to cross with the other ankle on top and put the legs down and straighten. So now the other ankle on top. Pull the knees in, lean back, pull the knees in, open, cross, bend, and down. Okay, and let me show you what we're getting to. So you have an idea. So we're actually going to take away the arms, open, close, open, close. So by leaning back, this kind of looks like a teaser, right? Like this. But you can keep your knees bent. Knees in, straighten, bend again, bring it back. Okay? And then if you want to keep your hands down on the ground, you can do that too. So if your hands are on the ground and you want to keep your legs straight, you want to lean back, open, close, open, close. So those are a bunch of variations. So find a version that's challenging but doable for you. So again, the reason why the hands are back here is because it helps to have something to lean against, right? Because if you don't have the hands there, now you're basically in a balanced V. This is the top of a teaser with your legs straight. So this all has similarities to other Pilates exercises we've done before. The first trick though, you gotta lean back. And then you start to lift the legs up. That part's the most challenging, right? Because you're using your quads and hip flexors to lift your legs straight. Once you open up and recross, I mean, you come down and let gravity take a hold of you, but you're trying to lower with control. So let me show you with the knees bent. If I go back, again, the toughest part is to lift the legs straight so you can bend. From there, you can straighten and then open to a V, recross, bend. This starts to look similar, right? To what we did earlier, like this. Bend, place your feet down, straighten the legs. All right. So again, these are just variations of similar Pilates exercises based on Pilates principles that you've seen before. Trying to keep things fresh here. So let's work on our side. First thing I want to work on is we're going to bend the top leg and put the foot behind the bottom leg. The bottom leg is straight and the foot is flexed. I want to remember to not sink into the shoulder. And then from here, I'm going to lift. The lift I feel in my obliques, and I'm also going to feel in one of my legs. Without giving too much guidance right now, I just want you to practice lifting the hip, staying lifted out of the shoulder. Hence, I keep my arm up. See how it feels. I'm going to guess for most people, it's easier to press with the bent knee. Press through your heel, activate that butt cheek, and lift up. And now I'm going to have you try putting just a few toes like this so that you can't press through the whole heel. I'm just showing you from the front, right? So just the toes. And then try to think about 80% use this bottom leg. So redirect your brain to say, I'm going to use the bottom leg. If I lifted my top leg completely, it's like, what muscles are active in this bottom leg? It's hard. It's challenging to lift with just the bottom leg, okay? Which is why the top leg's there for a little assistance. But the principle I want to talk about is that if the heel is down and the bottom leg, the top leg, the bent leg is there, it'll most likely do all the work. It's just what happens. Human nature will always sort of find the easiest way to do something. Okay, and then I think about it and I say, I'm just gonna put a big toe down so I get my balance, but I'm not able to push as much with my back, my bent knee. All right, and then, all right, if your shoulders are starting to feel it, because believe me, when you do side planks, your shoulder is very much involved. So again, just now knowing what we just talked about on the first side, do the first few and let the back bent knee do the work for the first few. And then start to redirect so that the other leg, the straight leg, starts to do the work. And I do recommend flexing the bottom foot because it's just kind of hard to put all your work into the foot without being on the edge of your foot. Okay, let's lift here. Again, I'm going to do the first few. Brace the abs, obliques. I'm really just letting this bent knee do the work. Okay, and I'm gonna just lift my leg up and completely and let the bottom leg do the work. And it's like, oh, okay, those are the muscles that I really want to work. It's really hard to do that though, so I don't want to keep doing it that way. But now it's like, okay, I've opened up those muscles, and now I'm just gonna be on my toe. I don't know if you can see my toe. But I'm gonna try not to put as much work into the back bent knee and more work into the front straight leg. For the bottom straight leg. Give me a couple more here. Everyone's going at their own pace, so don't feel like you need to rush or do a certain number. Okay, last one. All right, we're gonna get off our shoulder. It's tiring. We'll come all the way to the sideline here. So when we were standing earlier, we pretty much we moved our leg away from the midline and we lifted it up against gravity while vertical. So now we're in the exact same motion. We don't have to worry about balance. Well, we do have to worry about balance because we don't want to fall on our face, but that's why we have the kickstand hand. But we don't really have to worry about balance in the standing sense. Same thing, you don't want to externally rotate the leg, right? Because we want to target the outer thigh muscle. So there's only so much height you can lift without you wanting to externally rotate. So I would say just go about hip height and not too much higher. Maybe slightly more than hip height, but really should not be much higher. And then when you get to that height, you should feel the most amount of work
when it's mostly parallel. So if you pulse, they're on parallel. So you can make small circles, but the reason why small circles work so much is because it's pretty much a pulse. It's a very small range of motion in any one direction, like forward, back, up, down. It's just an inch to 2 inches of movement. And anytime you're keeping a contracted limb suspended in air, right, resisting gravity, it's gonna burn. That muscle's gonna burn. So I'm just going up and down. I'm not circling forward or back today. But if you did circle forward or back and you want a reverse direction, go ahead. But basically this sort of just floating, very small range of motion that just keeps that muscle engaged the whole time. Good, from here, we're gonna do the same thing with both legs. So first you start with full range of motion with both legs. Again, you can point the toes or you can flex the foot. And then we're going to pulse again. And obviously it's going to be more challenging to pulse with both legs lifted. Your top leg probably can rest a little bit on the bottom leg, but you're going to feel the inner thigh of the bottom leg. So let's lift, lift, pulse, pulse. And you're going to start to feel here, the oblique. That's what's working. Try to keep your feet together. And we lift, lift. Just think about the lift, because gravity is taking care of the lowering. You got to think of the lift. Your body's still in a straight line, so if you can see your toes, it means you've piked forward or you're looking down. So you shouldn't be able to see your toes. Let's pulse for 4, 3, 2, 1. And what I really felt there was here, my obliques, and then the inner thigh, my bottom legs. Now, when I did the pulse with just the single leg, I felt the outer thigh and the top leg. Mostly because it was on its own, right? The bottom leg was not there to help it. So now we're on the other side. So find that straight body. Use your kickstand arm. And we're going to start with full range of motion. Again, I'm flexing my foot because I can really see clearly. I know I can't see my feet in real life, but I'm seeing myself in the monitor on my laptop screen, that my feet are staying parallel with each other. And that's important because we don't want this external rotation. Abdominals stay engaged to help stabilize and keep your balance. Sometimes I feel like we can do this forever and it's just not going to get tiring. But I'm sure there'll come a point where it does get tiring. But that's why I move into the pulsing pretty quickly, or the small circles. So let's pulse. Again, if you want to make circles, go for it. It's just really, really small circles. Not only small, but they're also slow. I mean, at this point, I could be making slow, small circles, and it just looks like I'm pulsing up and down because that's how slow and small the circles are. It's hard to tell that there's a forward and back motion when the movements are that minimal, but that's the point. The point is that the range of motion is so small, you're keeping your leg elevated. I'm constantly reaching out through my heel. My quads are on fire. They're like super straight, right? So now my outer thigh is starting to burn a lot. My bottom leg is actually not completely relaxed because if it was, I feel like I fall on my face. Like there needs to be some sort of engagement throughout the whole body to stay tight and balanced. All right, I feel like my leg is going to fall off, so let's do the bottom leg. The nice thing about full range of motion is that there's a rest right there on the ground when your feet hit the ground. So if you want to rest for a little longer before you go back up, that's okay. Because when we start the pulsing, we basically take away the rest. Okay. we've rested enough. I consider this kind of a break, even though it's an active break, we're still moving. And now we're gonna go into the real work, which is the pulsing. Since we're not in the ground here, if you want to point your toes, you can. Lift, think lift, more lift. Again, you should be feeling in the obliques as well. Keep the legs as straight as you can. Reach those heels or reach all 10 toes as far away from the head as possible. Do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, gosh, I don't know if I did the last two very well. All right. So let's go ahead and do another plank. So we did a plank when we first rolled our way down or walked our way down from standing. This time we're going to be on the elbows instead of the. So what I want you to focus on again is keeping the quads engaged and the glutes engaged. So you tuck the toes under, look at the thumbs. I'm going to lift my leg, squeeze the butt, squeeze the leg, points. I'm going to flex and lower. Lift, point, flex, lower. Hopefully my butt is staying right at shoulder height and not lifting as I lift my foot, right? Lift. You should be able to lift your leg within the range of motion of your hip socket without disturbing your pelvis or butt. Lift, point, flex, down. Lift, point. Keep breathing, just alternate your breath. We can inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, lift, exhale, point. Good. That was the last one. Whew. Oh gosh. Oh, that was hard. Okay, so let's come to our back. So typically I've done teasers, but we did so many like teaser-like motions today. So for instance, this is like a teaser-like motion, and then this was a teaser-like motion. So I'm not going to do too many teasers today, so I'll do like 6. Oh, isn't that the amount I always do anyways? It's all about how you phrase things. All right, so anyways, we're going to do a few teasers. Reach the arms, extend the legs, roll the spine up, and here. And again, I just want to kind of point out how, you know, these movements are all very, very similar and tied into the teaser. And if I wanted to start my teaser from a straight leg position and with my legs crossed, what would it look like? You lift the arms up, lift here, and then you're here, right? And then you roll down, you cross the legs, you roll down. So again, they're just all variations. That was 2, so we're gonna do 4 more. You can do any variation you like. Inhale, exhale. So by now, you're all very, very proficient at the teaser. You've done this almost every class. Find your flow. So you know and can anticipate that you're going to get stuck. You know when that's going to happen. So you know the timing of when you're going to stretch the legs out so that you can use your abdominal muscles to roll your spine off the mat. 2 more. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one. I have no idea if I counted correctly, but as always, I know you'll forgive me for my imperfect counting. Okay. I just want to finish on our, for the little spine work and a little bit of stretch. So round the spine, arch the back. So again, I'm not intentionally hyperextending the neck here, okay? I am allowing my head to be an extension of my curved and arched spine. So because my spine is smiling, right, it's making a sort of a U shape, it makes sense that my head is a little lifted. Not a lot. I'm not straining my neck, just a little. And then when I frown sounds negative, so I say rainbow. I make a rainbow with my spine. my head is going to look at my thighs because that's the direction that my neck cervical spine is facing. All right, so just try to let your head follow the curve of your spine and not force it to look up. And even when it's down, you don't want to force a tucking of the chin. You don't need to look at your chest. That's too much. You're going to just look at your thighs. All right, and from here, find neutral. So whatever is not a arched back or what is not a rounded back. And from here, we're going to extend the leg to parallel. Reach the arm up. Just trying to find as much length and stillness as you can. Two more breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Good. And if you're doing this on your elbows, you can keep the arms down, find that neutral spine and extend the leg so it's at the same diagonal as your spine. Right? You're going to keep your arms on the ground. So again, if you're on your wrist, you can also keep your arms on the ground. You do not have to lift the arms, especially if you feel a little bit out of balance. Now, it's a great way to practice balance. Let's go back to the first slide. And if you want, just touch down as needed, all right? Because the last thing you don't want to fall on your face. And your arm is shorter, so it's very quick to put your arm down than it is to put your leg down. And also your arm is around your face. So putting your arm down will protect your hip. Let's try the other side for the last time. Reach. 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Go ahead and sit back on your heels or butts or in a comfortable cross-legged sitting position and just do a little spine twist. It's always good every day to get all the motions of the spine, that you do all the motions of the spine at least one time. So your spine can rotate. So try to at least rotate once a day. Your spine can round, which we generally have no trouble taking care of because we all sit slouched at some point during our day. And then to also arch. And then to do the side bend. Whoa. Do you reach for your cereal on top of your fridge like that? Just kidding, of course not. That'd be really funny if I did though. Thank you all for joining.